Joining me now is former Secretary of State Mike Pompeo. Secretary Pompeo, where did I get this wrong?
You got it all right. This administration is willing to sacrifice just about any element of American security, whether that's with partners in the Middle East or now you're talking about Chinese Communist Party, all on the altar of this faithful commitment to climate change. He'll sacrifice the Uyghurs in the western part of China. He'll sacrifice the Tibetans, the people of Hong Kong, and America's national security interests. Remember, this is an administration that's already letting China bring in crude oil from Iran. It's an administration that took a properly extraditable Chinese leader of Huawei who was sitting in Canada to be returned to the United States under criminal indictment. They let her go. This administration that is willing to appease the Chinese Communist Party for anything, all for the sake of a phony promise, Laura. The Chinese Communist Party is no more likely to actually live up to its commitment on energy than a man in the moon.
Yeah.
They just simply aren't going to do it. We signed the Paris Climate Accords, and in the Trump administration, we actually reduced total carbon output from the United States of America. The Chinese Communist Party didn't get out of the deal. They stayed in, but of course increased their carbon output tremendously.
Well, you know, the Biden administration, they're just so desperate for this empty climate deal with China that they're just not going to prioritize any concern about genocide for climate change. This is what the national security boy wonder said today.
John Kerry noted that his Chinese counterparts see a contradiction and that the United States is pushing them to reduce carbon emissions, and yet at the same time, the United States is sanctioning solar panel production.
There is no reason that the United States or any other country should be forced to choose between these two issues.
Mr. Secretary, how is that acceptable? We should just ignore human rights? Or China's going to care about human rights anymore if we cave on climate?
The Chinese Communist Party doesn't give a rip about humans. We saw this during the Wuhan virus, Laura. We saw clearly that they exported this virus through folks traveling to Milan, Italy, when they knew they were sick with a lethal virus. They don't care about the human condition. They're not about to change just because John Kerry shows up and tells them, hey, America's going to sacrifice its economy. America's going to sacrifice millions of its own jobs and good income for hardworking Americans. You should do that too. This is a fool's errand. Secretary Kerry has been on a fool's errand in lots of fronts. Remember, this was the man who said you couldn't have Arab countries recognize the state of Israel or there would be war if you didn't solve the Palestinian problem. He's been wrong an awful lot. There's no chance the Chinese Communist Party is going to reduce its carbon emissions just for the sake of appeasing some American interests. These are ruthless, genocidal leaders of the Chinese Communist Party intent on one thing, maintaining power and watching America's weakness benefit them.
Well, it's so depressing. This China issue and the border, I think, are the two biggest issues facing America. China's our biggest adversary. We're losing sovereignty on our southern border. You've sat across the table from President Xi. Is it not clear why he wants to only deal one-on-one with Biden at this point, given Biden's overall performance, his overall, ability to just converse? Are you surprised about Xi's desire to deal one-on-one with the president only?
No, it doesn't surprise me at all. I think he believes that he'll be sitting across the table from a leader who will not defend America's interests, not provide a clear articulation of America being first and foremost in his policy vision. I think he thinks he's sitting across from a leader who he can roll and get a deal that will make a lot better outcome for the Chinese Communist Party, a worse outcome for the American people, frankly, a worse outcome for most of the Chinese people as well, but certainly one that's not in America's best security interest. I think that's the reason he wants to sit across the table from President Biden, so he can cut a fat deal for his own team.
Mr. Secretary, I have a final question. How are you so tan all the time? You are the most tan guest I think we've had on the show in 4 years. I mean, is it a perpetual beach vacation for you? What's your secret? You look very healthy, but...
trying to live better after hard work for the last 4 years, getting ready for hard work for the next 9 months to make sure we take back the House in 2022 as well.
All right. You look tan, rested, and ready. Mr. Secretary, thank you.